All right, guys. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Chomping at the Bit. So, this episode, I want to talk about some breaking news or potential breaking news, but it's come to the, realization that Baker Mayfield is going to be released from the Carolina Panthers. So, with that, we know he was drafted by the Browns, didn't work there. They decided that Deshaun Watson was their guy going forward, so they moved Mayfield to Carolina. Carolina, he joined the quarterback room with PJ Walker, Sam Darnold, and himself. Neither one of them did anything this year, so I'm assuming he's probably the highest priced guy out of the three. So Carolina goes, Baker, I'm gonna let you go, at least allegedly, reportedly, how you want to put it. So now that he's out there, I was wondering, what are some destinations that he may be looking at? And I'm assuming he wants to be a starter. Probably not going out on that big of a limb there, but let's look around the league and see where it makes sense for Baker Mayfield to go. So you look in the AFC. I could probably only think of one team where it probably makes any sense. Look at Baltimore. Lamar Jackson just hurt his knee. Been no report yet on how long he'll be out, but I don't want to put this out there, but let's just say it's significant enough that he's out for the season. As a Ravens fans, if you checking this out, would you take Baker Mayfield on your roster? Let's say just to finish out the season, or do you put your hopes into Tyler Huntley and then I don't know, get a practice squad guy to back him up? Interesting. I I think they'd probably pass on him only because all indications from Harbaugh and the Ravens is that it's not that significant of an injury for Lamar Jackson. That could just mean maybe he misses a game or two and then he's back. Now in that division, that's going to be a big deal with Cincinnati being right there, 8-4, tied with the Ravens. But we all know that it's clearly pointing to the Ravens season coming out to that last week where they play the Bengals. So if Lamar Jackson's available to go for that game, they'll probably be good. Then again, opposite side of the spectrum, let's say he misses a couple of games, Hundley goes in there, loses those games, and the Bengals move ahead of them. Maybe there's not enough weeks for them to overcome that, and then they end up as a wild card team. So that's something that got the way, but I ultimately think they pass on Mayfield. The Texans, there's no reason to go into a long explanation about that. They're clearly not going to take him because obviously they're not trying to win games because they're looking to get Bryce Young and CJ Stroud, who most people are expecting will be in the draft next season. So they'll probably just go that route and start all over. So that's probably a no. Would be interesting, maybe. Baker going back to Big 12 country where he kind of made his name in Oklahoma. So, yes, Oklahoma's not in the Houston area or even Texas, but it's a close proximity. Then looking around NFC, the Bears, no, doesn't really make sense because I've said before, if the Bears have any sense, Fields is their guy going forward, and they just try to build around him. Not to say Fields is the perfect quarterback, but I just don't see the point of them bringing in a Mayfield and then I guess looking to go forward with him or um, using him and then drafting a guy. It'd be a waste of time. So that's a no. Um, Atlanta, no, because I feel like Atlanta, it's their decision is either stick with Mariota or go to Ritter at this point. I don't think Mayfield really makes sense there. Yeah, the more I think about that one, that's a no. The Saints, they have Dalton, Winston. I don't know what's going on, Winston. Clearly, he's hurt still. And then Taysom Hill, basically the emergency quarterback gadget guy. So maybe he would fit there. But I don't know if I see the Saints doing it either. So then that takes me to the NFC West, where I think there's actually two possible choices out there, maybe three. Um, I'm looking at basically everybody other than the Cardinals, because the Cardinals, they're married to Kyler Murray, obviously, with the big deal they gave him. So that's not a choice. The Rams. Now, I believe I saw something about Stafford might have like a spinal cord injury or something like that, which, if that's the case, one, that's just scary to read spinal cord injury. And then we've seen this season he had like a concussion issue and stuff like that. So what does that we don't know what Matt Stafford's future might be. He got his ring. Would you be upset or surprised if after the season Stafford said he was retiring? No. So if that's the case, would the Rams take a shot at Baker Mayfield? This season's done with, it's over. You're gonna take the probably, I guess, backlash in LA for absolutely, stinking after winning the Super Bowl to the point where I can't remember a Super Bowl winning team looking this bad this quickly after a Super Bowl. I can't remember that. So maybe you bring in Baker Mayfield. Last couple of games, you see what he has, and if, let's just say, Stafford were to move on, maybe you go with Baker Mayfield for a couple of years. Draft a quarterback and then groom. I don't know. I think when I first thought about this video, I didn't think about the Rams, but I think that could be an interesting spot for him. Yeah, I mean, the fit makes sense, at least in terms of he's a free agent quarterback, at least allegedly, once the Panthers release him. In terms of other free agent quarterbacks, I don't think there's anything out there that's really going to jump out at you. Otherwise, those people probably would have been signed at this point. Seattle, unless you're not sold on Geno Smith, but then you bring in Baker Mayfield now while Geno Smith is still playing well, I think it's going to cause too much of a distraction. So that'd probably be a no. Maybe that's an off-season type of move for Seattle. Maybe. But I think the team that everybody's probably going to be looking at right away, San Francisco. The 49ers are now 8-4. They lead that division by 1. They overcame somewhat of their own slow start. They have put things together recently, lead that division. And if you've heard any of the talk that I do on Sports Empire Network, of course, Tuesday nights, 7 o'clock, the Big Three, talked about how I think the 49ers are the team to watch in the second half and going into the playoffs as a possible threat. And I've also said it Thursday nights, Sports Empire Network on pregame pigskin. So I've been paying a lot of attention to the Niners. I like what they have. The Garoppolo news, if you haven't heard, he exited the game on Sunday pretty early, but we learned today that he has a broken foot, gone for the rest of the year. Now, yes, Brock Purdy came in for him, finished the game off, got the win. But you confident in Brock Purdy being able to lead this team on a postseason run, possibly to an NFC title game, maybe even a Super Bowl performance? No. So, do the Niners take the chance on Baker Mayfield, who, wherever he decides to go, this could be the last stop for him, at least as even the thought of a starter. He may have some other opportunities in the offseason and going forward as a backup, but as a starter, this could be it. Whatever he chooses might be it for him. So do the Niners front office think that if they bring in Baker Mayfield, get him with Kyle Shanahan, that Kyle Shanahan could maybe do something for him and salvage his career, salvage this season? Because if they're gonna have to turn to Brock Purdy for the rest of the weeks, I'm pretty sure whatever uh what's the word I'm looking for here? Predictions? We'll go with that. Any predictions on them possibly being a dark horse for a Super Bowl go out the window. I mean, it was kind of slim with some people with Garoppolo because not everybody's a big Garoppolo fan. I think with this team, Garoppolo gives you enough where this team is still formidable. Now, if you look at Mayfield, would you say Mayfield is an upgrade over Jimmy Garoppolo in terms of arm talent? Probably. I'd say Garoppolo is definitely an upgrade in terms of decision making. Yes, and I think that's probably the biggest advantage that he's had with San Francisco. But do the Niners look at it and say that it's just because of where Mayfield's been? Maybe the organization's just never put him in the right place to succeed. Could you argue against that if you wanted to? Yeah. Is it a valid point? Possibly. The Browns, they had. It seemed like Stefanski was going to be the right coach for him, but it just didn't work out. Carolina, I mean, Carolina went through a coaching change with Matt Rule, so that whole thing wasn't necessarily the best situation to be in either. So at least in San Francisco, we know Shanahan's the guy. Shanahan's a great offensive mind. So I mean, it's not hard to fathom that he would be able to put together a game plan that would take whatever Mayfield's good at, highlight those, and whatever he may be a weakness for him, shield it enough that he could at least get them wins for the rest of the season. So I think it's gonna be an interesting thing. First off, we have to see if the reports about him being released are true, which I think I saw on ESPN like a few minutes ago that I guess is official now that he's been released. So it's the Baker Mayfield sweepstakes, if you want to call it that. If maybe you don't think it's even worth teams really fighting over Baker Mayfield, and maybe this is just it for him. Maybe in a year or so we hear his name in XFL or USFL or whatever, the fan controlled league. I don't know. I do agree with a lot of people who think that this is probably the crossroads of Baker Mayfield's career, and I'm interested to see where he lands. Now, of course, if something happens over the course of the week, I'll probably do an episode here. If not, as I previously said, Sports Empire Network, either Tuesday or Thursday, I'll probably talk about it on there at some point. So make sure that you do check me out, Sports Empire Network, Facebook, YouTube, and TikiLive.com, live Tuesdays and Thursdays at 7 p.m. Sometimes I'm on there Fridays at 10. But Tuesday and Thursdays is a given. And probably even talk about him Friday nights around 8 on the JJL Sports Talk Show. You can check me out over there, YouTube and Facebook as well, live 8 o'clock. But my question for you guys in the comments is, where will Baker Mayfield land? I think it's probably between Niners, Rams is one that like I said, I could see it happening. So maybe it's the Rams, maybe the Ravens. Those are probably the only three places I could really see him popping up, but I really think it's probably the Niners. So if you agree with me, let me know in the comments. If not, let me know which team you think he goes to. Or do you think he's just out of the league at this point? I don't know. But yeah. So thanks for tuning in. Hopefully you enjoyed this episode. If you did, to do like, subscribe, share, hit the notification bell, leave a comment, leave a review, all that good stuff. And as I always say, be safe out there. God bless. I'll catch you next episode. All right. Have a good one. Enjoy your day.